This podcast intro songs AI. It's on YouTube and Spotify. You can use your ears or use your eyes. It's 30 minutes randomized.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of 30 Minutes Randomized. I'm your host, Steve Wimmer, and I'm super pumped to have one of the good guys, David Tsai, here joining me. How's it going?
Good. It's nice to connect after the podcast, a year ago?
Yeah, we were on a pod, someone else's pod a year ago, but now we're on my pod and I make the rules. David, if you could just orient people to kind of your perspective, where you're coming from, like what you've been doing professionally, so they understand where your answers are coming from.
Yeah.
Like what you've been working on the last couple of years.
Yeah, last couple of years I've been at in genetic medicines working on CRISPR-based medicines, and so in program management specifically, but prior to that, clinical operations as well. And my background actually comes from the site where I was for a number of years as a study coordinator for hematology oncology trials.
Right on. Awesome. Well, we may go deeper into any or all of those. The wheel is going to determine. So if you're listening for the first time, I've got a randomizer wheel. I'm going to pull it up. There's some questions. We're going to spin it and ask David the questions and go from there. All right. All right. So you've been working in operations. You mentioned CRISPR genetic stuff. What problem are you most interested in spending the next phase of your career trying to solve?
Yeah. So I was chatting with the CEO of Scribe just yesterday, Ben Oakes, and something he said was, we might be at the tail end of traditional pharma, and how do we do things traditionally in drug development. And so what I mean is, there's been such a huge push. Obviously, if you look anywhere, there's news about Anthropic and AI drug discovery. How do we, transform the space? And I'm super excited about it, even though I know there's a lot of, in our industry, a lot of hesitation and fears associated with AI and this kind of replacement of my job and replacement of what I do. I'm really passionate about it. I'm actually, I have a new opportunity coming up where I can actually help rewrite the clinical operations process with these sites, with the patients in mind, and I'm super excited about how I'm going to do that. It's going to be a big endeavor, but I'm super excited about it. So that's what I'm most
Wow. All right.
looking forward to.
Like file under potentially like revising clinical operations for the next era. Is that fair?
Yeah. Rewriting the clinical operations.
Wow. All right.
Process. Yeah.
I have some other questions that might allow us to go deeper into that, but that's really exciting. I, for one, have notifications on LinkedIn, so I'll be looking forward to see the updates in real time as they come out from you. We are going to head back to the wheel of questions and see what we get. All right. So this is maybe a follow-up there. I ask everyone this question just to see like what people are doing as professionals or even personally, but what apps are you opening up on a day-to-day basis? Like, and what are you doing with them?
Yeah, no, I love this question. I actually love teaching people about AI, and you can't really get past 10 minutes of conversation with me without diving into it. I am a huge proponent also, just people in our industry, in our field, of them learning how to use it, because if you don't learn, you won't be able to catch up, and you won't be able to know how powerful and how helpful it is. So back to the question, I use Claude almost exclusively. I use other things where appropriate, but it does help to manage everything all in one spot. And it's funny that you say opening an app, because I think it blows my mind that it's no longer an app. And so I want to do a really quick intro for anyone that is out there. This is my normal spiel that everyone understands and will hear from me. But you absolutely must look up two different things. And it is your second brain, and the concept, it's from Andrej Karpathy. And so he writes really beautifully about how important it is for you to retain your own knowledge. And for example, right now, if you're using OpenAI, Anthropic, any of those platforms, you're putting data into their repositories, and you're putting data into that platform, right? And you can obviously export it, but it's difficult to manage and it's not useful to you in a large way. And so the second brain concept is that you have a file anywhere you want to keep it. I have it in my Mac Mini, and you load it up with everything that you're learning about, all the interesting people. So it's Rolodex. I think we're of the age that we still remember those little flip things. I had it on my desk as a study coordinator. But you want to have your own data in your data sets and have that be updated, because on the second part is the agentic thing that's coming through now, Hermes agent from Nous, Nous. Look it up. They're one of the top ones that I recommend. We heard OpenClaw. Everyone got freaked out by OpenClaw. This is a much safer, structured approach. So you pair these two things, your second brain and your Hermes agent. And so I actually have it set up it's on my phone. I have Telegram. I can just message it and it does stuff for me. I'm out of the app now. So it still leverages Claude and some of these other LLMs to be able to do some of the work, but I'm in the cloud.
All right. Banger. I will say that like most of the people who are deeply AI pilled, I find like a little bit out of touch with humanity, but you are not. And I think you've recently even posted about kind of the nature of why you're doing the work you're doing and how it's connected to patients and people and humans. And so I'm happy to give someone like you a platform to talk more to AI. So if you're listening, go do those things, look up those things. David is one of the people who's doing it, but also cares about folks with beating hearts. Cool. I'm
Sorry,
going to
I
look
have
up
to
those
say
things.
one quote.
Yeah,
There's a quote.
absolutely.
I wish I remember the name. It's some guy at MIT, but he had this quote that I use all the time. He said, the only difference between human intelligence and artificial intelligence is that human intelligence will always will be the only one that cares about humans, right? And so that's the thing, that's a differentiator. I think we still need human intelligence in everything, because if you're just purely tech driven and doing AI stuff in clinical trials without thinking about the patients, I mean, you're off base. There's no way that you're helping us out.
Yeah. And there's no like coming back from that. All right, cool. Thank you, man. That was really good and helpful. And also the first time anyone has said anything like that, a lot of the answers have been, I kind of use it as a substitute for search. Um, all right. Man, this feels like it could be right up your alley. Are we reaching a point where some therapies are scientifically feasible, but operationally incompatible with the way trials are currently run?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to get on my soapbox for a lot of this.
Get up. Stand.
Yeah. So I feel there's too much press and too much thinking about, hey, we need more therapy. And they're not wrong. I mean, we have a lot of diseases. There's a lot of things out there that we need to treat. Full agreement, full stop. I think our healthcare system is so messed up, right? And there's a guy that I follow on LinkedIn, Andrew Tsang, Tsang. Highly recommend you follow him. He is the one that kind of teaches me about the healthcare system and how messed up it is. But no matter how many drugs we get out there, if we cannot fix our healthcare system and get access to the patients who need it, it's not going to be helpful, right? And so I caveat that. I just want to make sure that's out there, because there's a lot of people who feel this and they don't really band together or kind of make it a big enough deal. And I really want to make sure that it's well known. My father had a transplant. We had to fight just to get the drugs for the transplant approved by insurance, right? And so stupid things like this, no matter how many drugs and how many operational things that we can do to speed up drug development, we got to figure this out.
Yeah, that's fair. My wife's a clinician, and I hear horror stories all the time about
prior authorizations.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It does seem like just such a giant ball of wax that it's hard to know where to start. But it's good to have people thinking about it. I think my question was more around like you mentioned CRISPR stuff, like, and maybe it's not even worth talking about, but like when these therapies get so personalized, like I'm just under the impression that like it's going to be pretty hard to do a clinical trial with N of 1 stuff.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So that's a whole different topic, and that's a whole very passionate topic that I also am a proponent of. So look up, I mean, I'm sure you heard about Baby KJ out in CHOP, Philadelphia. So one of the first patients out there to have the N of 1 trial gene therapy, and UC Berkeley, a bunch of folks were involved. I don't. So when you say it's hard to do, yes, it's absolutely hard to do because of the money, and so, you know, we have Chan Zuckerberg, we have a lot of these other folks, a lot of philanthropists and money flowing in, that is much needed to power these, and absolutely, because when you do N of 1 trials, I mean, literally the process of making the drug is a N of 1 that you don't have any benefit of doing over and over, doing process development, right? And so I'm very hopeful. I think the future of it is going to be, you know, hopefully more therapies in that route. But it's happening. We're there. It's really cool.
Right on. Yeah. It seems like a very exciting time for folks who are doing stuff that seemed like science fiction 10 years ago. I just hope that we can figure out how to make it viable economically so that we can get the benefit. Yeah. Cool, man. All right, let's keep going. Let's see what else the wheel has in store for us. All right. I ask everyone this just because real life stuff matters too. What was the last ticketed event you went to? So this is anything where you had to pay to get in. Could be like theme park, a movie, live music, a play, anything where you had to pay to get in the door.
Yeah. My I have a 2-year-old. He loves trains.
Okay.
So we were up in, there's literally a place called Train Town, of course, for kids.
Train Town.
Up in Sonoma, so near wine country. We went there on a weekend, and it's a funny story because you're stuck on these, you know, I'm a pretty big guy, but you're stuck on these little tiny trains that are moving with your kid, and it's a comical, you know, a look, but great place. Kid loves it. And when I was there, I saw someone. I was like, wait, that cannot be him. And it was Sam Altman, right? And so he was there with his kid, and once in a lifetime, I ran up to him, sat right behind him, and we had a chat about AI and biology, and yeah. That was the last ticketed event.
Awesome. Wow. You double dipped with a Sam Altman flex and Train Town. That is incredible. So yeah, there's a question on the wheel, but I'm just gonna say it because it's natural here. I didn't know. I thought maybe you're like friends with the dude. Because I saw you posted on LinkedIn about it, and I was like, oh, the guy's sitting on a train with Sam Altman and kids. My question was, did you roast him like the rest of the internet when he made that post about parenting podcasts?
No, I don't even get the reference.
Okay, yeah, he had posted like, I saw this cool AI use case. You can connect your schedule and tell it your interests, and then have it create a podcast for you and your kids to listen to on the way to school. And someone responded, or you could just talk to your kids. And the internet basically like exploded Sam for that post. When I first read it, I was like, oh, that is kind of cool. And then everyone else was kind of
I will
piling on.
say he seems like a fantastic father, really great guy. So from a very short, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, it's easy to people in the public eye. It's pretty easy to dehumanize them. So knowing that he's also sitting on a train with his kids is cool to know. All right. Oh, I hit spin before I hit share. I'm very bad at this, even after 12 weeks of doing it. Okay. So you mentioned like you're talking about rewriting the next phase of clinical trials. I hear a lot of people talking about this, like it's probably marketing copy, but when we talk about modernizing clinical trials, are there things that are getting preserved implicitly or inherently that you think don't deserve it? Like ways of operating or modes of thought that maybe need to be pitched if we're going to do the process of modernization?
That's a well thought out question. Yes and no. I think there's clinical trials by default, and I'm a huge proponent of this. I started a change.org petition most recently about 2 weeks ago that was based on Kalshi and the prediction markets allowing people to place bets on clinical trial outcomes. As soon as I saw that, my gut reaction was like, no, this is ridiculous. This is going to introduce more regulations, more complexities. everything about clinical trials should be about protecting the patients, right? And we should never lose sight of why we're doing it. It's for medicines, sure, but it's medicines for the patients, right? And we have to protect them. There's been a lot in our history of clinical trials and research. You can look into it that has directly resulted in more guidelines and, you know, health and GCP, all these things that we follow now. All that to say, I think all of that needs to be inherently protected. I think there's a lot of processes and a lot of things that we built to address these regulations that should be flexible and we should revisit, especially with technology, right? And so one classic example, when we did case report forms, right, and having paper copies of everything, now we can have a verifiable source or some digital version of that is the original source. And so being flexible in that kind of thought process is going to be much needed, I think. When you talk about modernization, though, here's my other soapbox I'm jumping on top of, right? If you go into Reddit, if you go to our clinical research, the number one thing is, and I hate reading these, it's so sad, all these disenfranchised, like people that just used to love clinical research, clinical trials, now just saying and complaining about all these processes and how burdensome, how many, you know, edit checks they have to do or reports that they have to write. And that's my whole thing, is I want to make clinical trials fun again. I want to make it enjoyable, because these people got into it not for the money, like it's not that well paid, especially at the site level, right? And it's because of the patients, it's because of the mission, and I just want to alleviate all that administrative burden and just help them really love and enjoy their job again.
Right on. Yeah, I think I've seen people say they want to do that, and I've maybe seen people try. Hopefully, either by hook or by crook, we can accomplish it. I've never worked at the site level, but I read the same threads, I see LinkedIn, and it does seem like we have gone from 0 to 100 over the last couple of years in terms of making life harder when every solution promises to make life easier. I don't know how
Yeah,
missed
I
it
mean,
that bad, but
something I started doing in the past year was actually talking to folks who were startup founders for tech solutions in ClinOps. And it purely came out of because I was just sick and tired of them creating things in a bubble, right? And I was like,
yeah,
you're missing the mark, you're chasing this down, don't do this. And so that's where I'm coming from, is like, I was at the site, I understand the site, and I'm not just someone who's saying it. I completely agree with you. I think we see too many things that are just ridiculous, right? And no one actually boots on the ground would ever want to use something like that. And so that's definitely, yeah, well said.
yeah. I guess follow-up question for me, and maybe you don't have an answer, maybe there isn't an answer, but when I talk to people who are founding in the space, even the ones who are facing sites are trying to figure out a way to sell something to sponsors and CROs, because they view kind of the TAM of site land as too small. Like there's not enough resources or not enough money at the site level. So if they fix a problem at the site level, like kind of so what, unless they can somehow sell it to sponsors. Have you gotten that in your conversations with these founders? Like,
Yeah,
or some
no,
people just
it's true. I had one startup that I was really close with the founder. He was selling voice AI to clinical sites and doing, you know, okay, but not making big bucks. And then I said, hey, like the money's in the sponsor side, right? And so it's unfortunate, because then he did pivot. Then the solution was no longer aimed at helping sites, even though it was helping sites, and it's now a sponsor solution that may help the site. And so I agree with your statement there, and I'm hoping to resolve it. I think we're at a time and a place in history that there's enough tools in our tool shed now to address and help everyone collectively. It's going to take some innovative thinking and some crazy things that I don't want to reveal yet. It's what I'm going to be building and what I hope to achieve. But I have some crazy, and you know me, Steve, I have some outlandish ways to approach things that I think will benefit everyone. And I'm a huge person for not gatekeeping, and rising tides lift all ships. So I agree with what you said. I think we need to build solutions that help everyone, as opposed to one party in the clinical trials infrastructure.
right on. Yeah, I love it. And again, like I have a front row seat and I've got my Michael Jackson eating popcorn gif loaded up. Um, cool. We got three more, rounding it out. Two of them are actually gonna be silly. So, you've worked across some larger orgs and some smaller biotechs. I'm curious if you have anything that you took from a larger org that you actually were able to apply at the small biotech level,
Oh,
or if it's
that's
just
funny. Yeah, it's usually the
two
other way
apples and
around
oranges.
that
Well,
people
right. Yeah,
ask,
yeah, yeah.
right?
So
Yeah.
I was curious.
Yeah, yeah. So I had a stint in Genentech, and again, I think it's you learn the foundational stuff. You learn how to do things the right way, even though it might be the slow way. So I've carried that throughout everywhere I go, and I've seen a lot of the efficiencies that they've done, which also is kind of the reasons that they're slow is because of the siloing and someone just doing something very well, very niche. But yeah, yeah.
Okay, so like kind of the old artist maxim, like you have to know the rules before you can break them. So like these
Yeah,
larger orgs
yeah.
have like 40-page stops on something that someone might do like off the back of their, off the top of their head, but it's that way for a reason. It's gonna
There's
be
a reason.
quality. It might be
Yeah.
slow, but it's like gonna be the way it should be. Um, and then once you got that foundationally, you maybe can find some ways to improvise or find some ways to compress timeline because your organization size is smaller. So you said you've usually heard that question in reverse. Do you have a pet answer there for like, all right, like going up the food chain, something that, an established large organization can maybe look to a smaller org and say like, oh, that's worth trying or that's worth picking up. We thought we had it figured out for the last 30 years, but these cats got a new idea.
Yeah, I mean, and my little stint in program management has taught me also just there's no one size fit all. It's all fit for purpose. And so there's so much that I've taken from small places. Well, actually, I'll take that back. I went from a big place to very, very small places. So I've never actually carried any of that over. I think theoretically, it's just, wherever you're having challenges, look to small pharma. And I think nowadays, everyone's very small. Everyone's innovating. And the big players are picking up the small players for that reason.
Yeah, that's true. Although I did see news this week of two potentially big players combining, which I
Yeah,
don't know
don't get me
enough.
started on that.
I don't know enough to even have coherent thoughts about that. But people that seem smarter than me seem bummed out about it.
I
All
didn't
right,
see anything good come out of that
we got
post.
two more. All right. This is just a silly icebreaker at the very end of the show. If you could make a fruit or vegetable sentient and keep it as a pet, what fruit or vegetable would you pick and why?
Oh, that's funny. That's a very Steve question. I love it. So we went to Taiwan this year, and they actually have a lot of fruits that we don't have here. And one of them is called a wax apple. And so it's
Okay.
like this super weird styrofoam textured, crunchy little apple looking fruit. I think I would make that the pet, and purely, I mean, it's delicious. I like it, but purely also just because it's very lightweight. It
Okay.
feels like holding air, so it'd be very
Small,
portable.
carried around easily. Yeah, it's the lap dog of fruit pets.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wax apple. So they're not here, meaning like I could not acquire one if I wanted to, or
It'd
like
be
they just
very
don't grow
difficult. I don't
natively.
think they even grow here easily. It needs a very tropical climate. So Indonesia,
Okay, and they don't.
Taiwan.
There's no trade in them. They don't ship.
No, they spoil pretty easily, and so yeah, a lot of these.
Well, let me open a new browser tab with flights to Taiwan.
There you go. Highly recommend.
Yeah,
It's a
I'm sure.
wonderful country, obviously.
All right. Okay, we're gonna end with kind of a goofy one, but it maybe could lead to some cool conversation. I'm gonna spin the wheel for no reason other than I like the little ding. All right. So you don't need to read it. We got an Undercover Boss episode. We're dropping 3 CEOs into their own studies as an ops team member. We got large pharma, a major CRO, and a large site network. Who lasts the longest before someone realizes they don't know what they're doing? So we're dropping down from CEO level to ops on a study.
I mean, come on. Anyone who works in ClinOps could be able to. Yeah, it's. Wait, sorry. What can you? The 3 were this major CEO, CRO, and then the site network.
So it's a CRO.
and then CRO, then pharma. Easy.
Okay. You think pharma would last the longest?
No. From the site network will last the longest. Then the CRO.
Got it. So like a pharma
sponsor.
CEO dropping down to operations, they're just going to be like, I don't know.
Yeah, I
everyone's
mean,
gonna find them out
it's just
immediately.
because of how far removed you are from the site, right? And so
Yeah.
site's the closest, CRO is the next closest, pharma the furthest.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. I would watch that show.
I would pay money to watch that show.
All right, Netflix executives, if you're listening. Cool, man. Well, I really appreciate it. We have exhausted the wheel, and I know that you're a super busy guy, so I don't want to dilly-dally unless there's anything off the top of your head. You're just like, I need to get this out for the between 9 and 70 people who listen to this, depending on what week.
No, I appreciate what you do, Steve, and obviously I think I appreciate what you do for our industry and trying to kind of uplift and make things more well known. I think if I can shout out to the clinical trial operations folks, and this is something I said earlier, learn about AI, because I don't think it's a scary thing. I don't think it's something that we put in a box. And the more you use it, the more you actually understand how much better we can do things. And then come talk to me, because I would love to find out, implement. I think, we learn from each other. So yeah.
Amen. All right. If you're in ClinOps, you have an open invite to DM David about your AI usage, and he can tutor you, but not until you've read those books that he recommended, because if you don't do your homework, he's not going to have any
So
time
they're
for
not
that
books, they're
nonsense.
concepts. And web links. And
good thing I'm going to edit this in post. Just kidding. I don't do any editing. I just throw the show up there. All right. Thanks so much, man, for your time. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday afternoon. And I will be waiting with bated breath to see where you land next and what the next stop looks like for you.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to 30 Minutes Randomized. If you enjoyed the show, please feel free to like, subscribe, review, or share it with a friend. Until next time, I'm your host, Steve Wimmer, reminding you to stay random.